Alright loves, it's Jodi here. In this video, I'm going to be teaching how to teach your kids how to have empathy. So I'll be teaching how to teach. Because as parents, that's what we do. We are the foremost person in our kids' lives to teach them the skills that they need, like life skills. Like at school, they learn to learn, and maybe they learn life skills, and they have all kinds of experiences, and they're going to learn from all of those too. But you are this ever-present thing that kind of they come back to and reflect back to. So you are so important in teaching them life skills. And I'm sure you're like, really like, oh my gosh, there's so much going on. Our kids are really upset. They have anxiety. They have this. And I'm not sure if you have a child with anxiety and you come to YouTube, you're going to watch a video like how to teach your kid empathy. But I'm going to tell you in this video how it will help anxiety as well as everything else. Before I get into it, I have so much to say, but please subscribe to my channel because tons of videos are dropping very soon on how to help your teen, tween kid feel happy in their life. Just to review, that previous video was about the 4 things that we need to be happy. The 4 things that kids need to be happy. And they are acceptance, belonging, control, and meaningful existence. I wanted to remind you of those because as I'm teaching empathy, I'm going to show you how empathy brings each of those 4 into your kid's life and why it is so important to teach them empathy. So you might be wondering if empathy is natural, like people are born with it, or it's taught. Well, the good news, it's both. Right? So you could be born with it. Some kids are just naturally just kind of intuitive and they could really understand and have empathy for other people. And some kids learn from the people around them, mostly you. But they can learn from tons of people around them as well. But here's the reasons why it's important, why empathy helps us in our life. It helps us understand other people. When we understand someone's story, like when we really understand, like we could get inside the story and understand what that would feel like. It helps us to understand other people. And when we understand other people, we can read the world, right? So we could read what's going on, why people do what they do, why they're behaving the way they're behaving, and we could read what is happening. And when we read what's happening, what does that give us? Control. We know what is going on, so we know exactly how to respond, either to keep ourselves safe or to be compassionate or to be kind or to, extricate ourselves if we need to from somebody who's not being very nice. When we could read other people, it really helps us have control in life, and life's not as scary that way. The other thing is empathy helps us connect to other people, which both will increase our acceptance, right? Our love and people seeing us, our people appreciating us. That's being seen too. And also that sense of belonging, because it will connect us with other people and then we'll become part of the group. But empathy connects us with other people because we have love. Right? So when we understand someone's story, when you know someone's story, you feel affection for them through that empathy. And that affection for them is a bond, is a closeness in relationship. And humans, as we know, need close relationships to feel happy. Those close relationships make us happy. Most kids come to therapy because they're having problems in interpersonal relationships, either with their family or with peers at school. And once those problems in those interpersonal relationships are resolved, their depression goes away, their anxiety goes away. It causes all kinds of problems. So empathy is something to ward that off and keep people feeling good emotionally and working on their emotional wellness to keep them out of therapy. Not that you need to keep kids out of therapy, because if you have a therapist like me, and I still work with people, so come on over our website if you need me. It's a lovely experience. It is. The other reason why it's really important to have your kid learn empathy is that they tend to, once you have empathy for someone else, they tend to want to help. They tend to want to do something, contribute in some way, or respond in some way that might be helpful to the other person. And what does that give? Yeah, meaningful existence. See how empathy increases all those things that we need to be happy: belonging, acceptance, control, and meaningful existence. So here are the 4 ways to teach your kid empathy. 1 is to use examples. When you're watching movies or reading books together, try to ask questions, get discussions going about the characters in the movie or in the story. And when you have discussions about the characters, you could discuss why they did what they did, what they might have felt when that happened. All those things are practices, right? You're practicing helping your kid when it's something outside of themselves. So it's a safe place, there's not a lot of baggage, right? It's an experience of another, and often these are fictional characters. Not always, but if you're discussing someone outside themselves, it's the best way to begin to practice those skills, because there's nothing in the way. There's no fear, there's no upsetness, there's no hurt feelings, right? So use stories, movies, books to discuss the characters and invite kids into thinking like the character thinks. And that's a perfect way to start to teach empathy. Number 2, you want to teach your kids to imagine. Now, kids' imagination is one of the best parts. Actually, human imagination is one of the best parts of us, the best parts of our minds. That's where we're creative, that's where we problem solve, that's where we figure out how to adjust. We get inspiration, we invent things. We get good ideas. Our imagination is amazing. Our human mind is amazing. And so we could invite kids to imagine. This goes with number 1. When you're using the examples of the people, of the characters in the story, you want them to imagine what the other person's thinking. So you want them to imagine if they were literally in the shoes, right? So it's like the imagination is you're kind of in the body of the character, looking out through the eyes of the character, feeling what's on the heart of the character. And the imagination is a great way. It's safe. It's there for everybody. A great way to learn empathy. Number 3 is model. There is always opportunity for us to model empathy to our kids, especially to them. In my house, when someone is upset, we get softer. Usually, I know with families, if someone's upset, the other people get defensive, and then it's, but in our house, when someone gets upset, we get more compassionate, and that calms them right down. Makes a whole difference. So you want to practice empathy. Like, I really understand if I had that happen to me, I'd feel exactly like you were. These kind of phrases. So helpful to have them feel acceptance, feel seen, feel validated and understood, but it also is training them how to do that for somebody else, right? How to go to somebody else and let somebody else know that you empathize with them, that you understand how they feel, and so that makes them feel accepted. So modeling. Also, when people are going through hard times, if we send cards, we send flowers, or we bake food for them or something like that, that is a nice thing to do. And your kids can see you doing that. And when they see you doing that, they realize this is how you be in the world. You send cards, you're thoughtful. When someone's having a rough time, you call them. And you want them to always be aware and watching you do that, because that's going to teach them empathy for other people. Last but not least, teach your kids to take a step back. And that means when they're in a situation, so finally you've kind of taught them how to have the skills and empathy all along, right? But finally, when they're in a situation, when they are in pain, you want to teach them to be able to take a step outside of the situation. So after you've given them empathy and you've validated them so they feel cared about, loved, accepted, then they could take a step back outside of the chaos of what just happened. And when they're outside the chaos, they could kind of look at what happened and what the other players were doing, right? What did this person, why they did what they did, why they might have, right? It's only after they're validated and they could take a step back that then they could put themselves in the shoes of somebody else and understand. And empathy helps people not take things personally. Once you understand other people, once you know how to read the world, then you don't take all of this stuff that people do so personally. It's an incredible power to have on your side. So I think it's so important to teach kids. What do you think? If you like this video, please like it, comment below, ask any questions. Come on over to my blog. Link is below in the description, where I go way in depth about what kids need. I have tons of stuff on my website for conscious parenting and for helping kids release fear and empower themselves in the world. And I got lots dropping, so don't forget to subscribe to my channel, and I will see you next week. But until then, be present and let that you want to be shine through.